car is cowardice. Be a man and fight him. Okay, I think he's going in guns a-blazing, Aaliyah. What are you thinking about this? Because, of course, this was a huge topic of conversation. You know, initially some people were thinking, okay, maybe the arson allegations and the kidnapping allegations were dropped. But, I mean, if we read, you know, the paperwork, it was attempted kidnapping, attempted arson. So, of course, the government yesterday touched on those things, you know, arson and kidnapping. And now this is Agnifilo talking about both those things. What are your thoughts with that update, Aaliyah?
Okay, let's begin at the beginning. Diddy couldn't have bombed Kid Cudi because we're men and we don't bomb, we fight. We know that you fight. I think the prosecution is going to have a field day with that. Oh, you're a man and you fight? Like you drug Cassie down the intercontinental hallway? Like you kicked her? Like you hit her over the head with a frying pan? Like
Okay, there we go. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to be going to see MELLY in September. At the end of September, I'm going to go to Miami to see MELLY, and then I'm going to drive up to Orlando, and I'm going to catch Stephon Stearns. And I'm going to see my friends over at Fox 35 in Orlando. Okay, but I am going to go see MELLY and Stephon Stearns. So, Tavonda, I know you are in Florida, and I expect to see you in September, girl. Okay? I expect to see you in September. Nay, if you're here, you're nearby. Come holla at your girl. We'll set up a meet and greet. We'll hang out. Come meet your friend Lauren. I would love to meet y'all there. Okay. I don't love Florida. So make it worth my while. Oh, y'all. First, I just want to say that the Karen Reed trial's over. The jurors have come out, some of them, and said there's no evidence that he was hit by a car. And the jurors have said, we would like to know. We would like to know what happened. One of the jurors, y'all remember a few weeks ago, we were watching the Karen Reed and we were looking at the cop who saw the taillight fully intact when it went on the tow truck, and then they showed the picture and you could see the light was fully intact on the tow truck. And then I said to y'all, that's it, case closed. One of the jurors said that was it for him. The girl was right. I was right. I was right. I was right. So, the jurors agreed with Lauren. You had a trustworthy cop who saw a whole taillight and then a picture of the taillight. Boom. It did not hit John. Boom. I really just feel for Karen, honestly, because to spend that much money on a DUI defense, I feel for the taxpayers of the state of Massachusetts. If I was one of them, I'd be in arms right now. I would be in arms over the money spent. In Fulton County, you need to be upset. In Massachusetts, you need to be upset. It is unbelievable. Now, I do have a bias. I do think Texas is the best. And I have seen Texas criminal courts. They don't act that way. So maybe we are the best. Speaking of Texas, in Texas, I am following Yella Beezy his capital murder trial for hiring someone to ixnay Mo3, sorry. I am also following the Carmelo Anthony trial. That is in Frisco, Texas. That's up the street from me. It's an interesting trial. It's an interesting fact pattern. So I'll be following that as well. Hey, another CG. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so right now in the Diddy case, they're doing closing arguments. And we'll get into that later. But first, what I wanted to do, I want to show you this hearing. I just, on the MELLY case, I want to go to MELLY and talk about that for a little while. I want to run through this hearing with you. I'm going to tell you the sound is terrible. That's not my fault. Okay, the mics there are bad. It's not Law and Crime's fault either. It's government microphones. You know, what do you expect? So the sound on this hearing is terrible. The reason I'm interested in this is I have kind of seen Raven Liberty kind of decline, like I felt like in the first trial and the first series and stuff, she did fine. But now here we are in the second one, and she is just all over the place. All right, so before we dive into watching her together, I want to tell you my style, okay? I am the type of person, I want you to cut to the damn chase. Tell me the point, okay? In law school, we learn how to write IRAC. Issue, rule, application, conclusion. The issue is the point. Why are we here? Okay? Then you go into the rule of law. Then you talk about how these facts apply. Then you tell the judge, I want you to do what I want you to do. Okay? It's really easy. They train us to like think this way and act this way, right? So when I'm going in here, I went to a hearing yesterday, and it was supposed to be a continuance, but we ended up arguing the matter. And I said, can you give me a minute? Judge said, sure. So I read over my thing. I was like, okay, I'm ready. Like, now I'm ready. So dude argues his point. I come right back. I'm like, no, the Constitution says this says this says this. And it's really up to you, judge, if you want to do X, Y, or Z. And she decided to go with his side, which actually benefited me greatly. And when I was leaving, she thanked me. She said it was lovely to, see you. I hope to get to know you. I hope to see you again. And I believe that is because I come in with complete and organized thoughts. Okay? Here is why I'm in front of you, Judge. Here is what I want you to do, and here's why. Okay, exactly, no face. Get to the mother trucking point. I hate it. And I understand it, but clients come in and they just tell me all this stuff. Like, I don't care what Susie did. I care what the deed says. Like there's all this extraneous shit, right? And I feel like Raven Liberty does this extraneous shit and like goes off on weird tangents. We'll see at the end of this, she finally comes to the fucking point. But like, I feel like, especially with this judge, this new judge on MELLY, you should come to the point first, then argue why that is the point to conclude to. But my style is better. Okay. This is going to be difficult to watch because of the sound, but we're going to do it together, okay? This was a few days ago. Basically, what has happened is there is a civil trial pending where the victims from this trial are suing MELLY for his possible potential unlawful acts. In this criminal trial, they have an agreement that the discovery is private. But the state has to give the civil lawyers the information and the discovery because it's public and they need it, okay? So the state did what they needed to do, and then when they did what they needed to do, one of the civil attorneys published photos, autopsy photos. Okay? This Raven Liberty wants the judge to hold the civil attorney in contempt. We've talked about contempt. It was about a year ago that Brian Steele was held in contempt. I have a whole video about contempt. So she's asking to hold the civil attorney in contempt because he breached the agreement on this case between the state and defense. Okay? Her approach makes no sense. Now, if this was me, hold on, if I were in her case, or I were in her shoes, and let's say this was Texas, because I don't know Florida law. I don't know Florida law, okay? If we're in Texas, and this was my defense client, and a civil lawyer breached a civil judge's order, I would go to the civil judge, have him penalize the civil lawyer, and then I would go to the MELLY judge and say, look, your peer penalized this person, and the only reason he could have hit these penalties is if the state had given him the information to release. Open and shut. Open and shut. That is closed. I have other judge's order. He said, yeah, that dude did opposite what I said. The way that dude was able to do that is because of the state, Your Honor. And so now here you are. That judge has made his decision. It's your turn to make your decision about the state's involvement. I do think that Raven Liberty is burnout. And I do think that she is defending herself because she says I several times. And I do think there is now a conflict. There's definitely a conflict. She's not doing well. All right, let's do this.
19. Looking at chapter 119, on his face, they should have never been given anything outside of the pleadings which they could have got from the court. But the evidence, there's no justification for it. Judge, and there's no justification for John Phillips then taking that evidence.
She needs a little trim here on this hair. You see the split ends? Okay, so she's saying under Rule 119, the state should have never given Phillips, the civil attorney, the stuff.
And publishing it on his Twitter account. I would ask that, I need Mr. Phillips basically testify, so I could proffer what's in this letter. I think we need Mr. Phillips here to tell us
Okay.
who exactly in the state attorney.
They did notice Mr. Phillips. Mr. Phillips is the civil attorney who released the photo. They noticed him for this hearing, but he sent another attorney, and that attorney was like, he's on family business, he can't make it, and the judge did not reschedule the hearing.
Attorney's office did he make this agreement with, because that's unclear. And I think we need to clearly know what steps the state attorney took in making sure that the evidence was not released, and what steps the state attorney took in deciding what was going to be provided to them specifically under chapter 119, because I believe we have a violation here.
So, yes, Chairman, this is two different courts, two different jurisdictions. So, again, personally, I would have gone to the civil court judge and had that judge declared a violation of their order. Then I would have gone to the criminal judge and say, yo, your peer said they violated it. It's violated. Now what did the state do? But that is not what Miss Liberty did. There you go. Why wouldn't this be in front of the judge whose rule he violated? Duh.
Because this case of the state attorney is part of, it's this case that we have the Sixth Amendment interest.
How do I get to Mr. Phillips? He's not on.
And this court has no jurisdiction over the actions of the civil lawyer. The civil court has jurisdiction over the actions of the civil lawyer.
You're talking to me about he violated an order in CAC 20-17725. I'm not saying whether he did or whether he didn't. But let's say he did. That's in the purview of Judge Davis, right?
So it's weird that she walks off while he's talking. I would never.
My co-counsel reminded
She forgot his name.
me that at the hearing, we thought you had directed the state attorney to have Mr. Phillips here, and it was agreed that he would be here.
I asked if anyone put him on notice, but you're asking for a rule to show cause. No different than if a witness fails to appear at a deposition, it's subpoena. That's why over there in front of Judge Davis is different than over here.
Yep.
You're talking about a violation of a rule that was signed, an order that's signed in the civil case. But
Exactly. The order is in the civil court. The other thing that surprises me here is if y'all knew how mad it makes judges when people violate their orders, just regular people. When a regular person violates a judge's order, it pisses them off, and rightly so, because they are a judge and you have to do what they say. That's how this country works, right? If you are a lawyer and you violate a judge's order, ooh, baby. No. No. So I'd rather have Phillips in front of the judge who he basically raised the finger at than this judge. I would have that judge take care of him in that court and then bring it to this court. I don't understand these people. Hey, Nay. I was talking about you a few minutes ago.
all right, pause on that. Go ahead, Mr. Green. Your response. You don't represent Mr. Phillips, but only as it relates to the state attorney.
Yes. So, good morning, sir. First of all, to answer the question that defense counsel posed, I am the one that negotiated with the two civil attorneys on how to handle their allowance request for public record. Now, at the top of page 3 of my response is a litany of Florida statutes and ethics law, and they basically stand for the fact that once discovery is given out in a case, that discovery becomes a public record, subject to exemptions and redactions. So, in other words, in the statute actually to the effect of paperwork given to the defendant, papers given to the defendant are public record. So,
Okay. As of this moment, we don't know why it's important to MELLY that this issue is even addressed. Because Raven hasn't told us. She hasn't told the judge. Ultimately, the issue is this guy's had a trial already. You release this evidence and you taint the jury pool. This kid's been in jail for 6 freaking years. These people in this community have heard about it. It's 6 years they've heard about it. And now this evidence gets released on the civil case. We have no jury pool. That is the argument. She should have stood up immediately and said, Your Honor, whether or not you have jurisdiction over Mr. Phillips and his unlawful conduct, you do have jurisdiction over our jury pool. And from this release, that jury pool has been tainted. Easy argument. This man is defending a jury argument that she hasn't even made.
the state being faced with a huge amount of discovery that the defense needed because the trials were saying that the defense motion to strike the original order from former Judge Lynch. So all questions in the civil court and top of the evidential hearing in the civil court to see whether or not the orders were violated. When it comes to this court and you're looking at the state attorney's office is absolutely not to put stuff, anything out. It was supposed to be on the streets.
See the judge nodding?
Autopsy photographs. Autopsy photographs are on the public.
Okay. Melly's obviously talking with his eyes to people in the audience.
Did not go out on that protected.
Also, this guy's hair grows so fast. Holy ravioli, his hair has grown so quickly.
Although I can't say with 100% certainty, again, something maybe in the civil court will also happen. There is a investigative report inside the discovery of this case that was done by Mr. Bradley at work, lead detective live, wherein they put together a recreation of the how the bullets shot.
Melly and I had similar girls.
Who had to be there more capable of going to the election or the election. And it appears that some of those autopsy reports autopsy pictures, made it into that particular document. And that was under the detective. Again, I think that is why this is better off being heard.
Okay, so the prosecution is saying, hey, it was a huge dump. We gave them all the stuff. The autopsy photos accidentally were part of it. They were part of the dump. This guy went and published them anyhow. Which is why we should go to civil court to talk about it.
And flushed out as to why that
Is this the new tattoo? This looks new.
that wasn't straight into the online I don't see how the state should be held, Mr. Breyer or the office or myself should be held accountable for something that we did everything we could to prevent from happening.
So what I was looking for under chapter 119, and thanks Mr. Klinger for letting me know, I'm going to call Mr. Klinger at the next hearing.
Mr. Klinger had to let her know this?
Mr. Phillips is here. If they authored this agreement, and his argument is that we had to turn this over pursuant to 119. So in going to 119, it's under here, I believe it's subsection 5D, goes on to talk about what active is. So if you go to the subsection of 2, criminal investigation information shall be considered active as long.
Y'all, remember a few months ago when the government got her iCloud and the judge was talking about if it's an active investigation? Why didn't she read this shit then? Why did she read these rules then? This woman makes no sense to me. Like, she is not a good lawyer.
Is related to an ongoing investigation, which is continuing with a reasonable good faith anticipation of securing an arrest or prosecution in the foreseeable future. In addition, criminal intelligence and criminal investigative information shall be considered active while such information is directly related to pending prosecution or appeals.
Wouldn't that have been perfect to read a few months ago?
That's it. It's got our entire, that's the entire file that the state attorney has that wasn't published, it was protected, it was exempt. But under here, they prepare an order saying chapter 119, this is what we're going by, but then they violate what chapter 119 says is exempt.
Anyone else confused by her words? I'm curious if she's able to hear herself speak. What are you even
Why
saying?
it's here because it is the state attorney's office. Why it's here because we are dealing with a death penalty case. Alright, so there should be these protections to things like the Sixth Amendment, the right to a fair trial.
We're about 9 minutes into this bitch, and she finally brings up the right to a fair trial. How did she pass the bar, bro?
Didn't have to sit through the jury selection, Judge. That's what you haven't had to deal with in this case. And one of our biggest problems in this case is people knowing who he sat through hundreds
Why didn't she say this first?
of jurors, and they read something, they saw something on the news, or they heard his music, and we're just going through them.
Does she seem drunk or high? Like, is she slurring her words or is it me?
So to be sitting here on a retrial, faced with the fact that there was so much media attention to the first trial, but now I have a civil attorney taking further steps just to publish evidence and argue with people about it. A fair trial is what I'm asking for my client, and that's what I'm asking for in this courtroom, because you do have jurisdiction over the state attorney. The civil attorney doesn't. The civil judge doesn't. Jurisdiction over the state attorney. Mr. Klinger just submitted he was the attorney that wrote up this agreement and negotiated with them. So yeah, we need to question Mr. Klinger why he turns this over in light of 119 saying, well, there's a pending trial, everything's exempt.
So what would we be teaching in this situation?
I would ask for the same rule to show cause of why they're not in contempt of Chapter 119 and in contempt of the United States Constitution and our rights. My client's right to a fair and impartial trial.
That literally should have been said first.
Two plays I get the whole thing. 3.830. That's direct criminal. That has to happen in my presence. That happens. 3.840. Indirect criminal. No one asked me for an order for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Someone sought an order in the criminal case, saying we don't want any of this released. Period. We want you in 4/2019, and we got a civil judge who's entering orders that shouldn't be ordering, and judge, we want you to shut it down. Anybody do that?
So you're asking us, you have notice of us. So you're asking me something, did I do something?
It says Jamel Demons is a defendant in this case. Who's involved?
The civil attorney didn't get notice of it. That is what I attached, and I could
So
not.
if something's happening in a civil case, rules are being broken in a civil case. If an order that a circuit judge, now it's Judge Davis, okay, Division 14, in a civil case, you have to go to that judge for all of it.
Correct.
Someone hasn't complied with the order, and if what you're telling me is true, I don't have any evidence in front of me today. I don't have anything about what was or what wasn't posted on social media.
Okay, so then they go out into the hallway, and the white man on Melly's group takes over because Raven is clearly messing up. They come back from the break. Look how pissed Melly looks. Ooh. I wonder what happened back there on that break.
In my
His lawyers were not back there with him. They were out in the hall talking to the lawyer. So he was back there with security. What happened? Why did he come back so mad?
about Mr. Klinger proffered outside, I would withdraw, I guess.
So she withdraws her motion basically because she's an idiot.
9:30 in the morning instead, you just check that.
Melly's irritated. I don't know why. Maybe because his lawyer's an idiot. So another thing. Hi, hippies. So good to see you. The thing that bothers me the most about this case is that there is an appeal pending. Okay, if you remember, his last judge got rid of a ton of evidence for this new case, and the state appealed it, and that appeal is still pending. So how can you move forward with trial if you're on like the judge moving forward with this trial makes no sense. None. It's on appeal. You have to wait. Like, I understand that he wants to adjudicate this because it's been 6 years, but he can't. So better option would be to release him on bond with like a monitor or whatever. Assign the constable to watch him and have him pay the constable. It's on appeal. Oh man, if I was his lawyers. So here's what I think is going on with Raven. She already went through the whole trial, right? Then they get to this part and they're like going through her shit and making her a defendant, right? And then on top of that, the entire procedural posture of this entire trial is so backwards and fucked up. She's probably just reached a point of frustration where she doesn't even want to look at the case. She probably just doesn't even want to do anything. Like, oh, this is so upsetting. This is so frustrating. I'm like, I'm running into a wall, and I'm thinking that's why she's not performing well anymore. I couldn't have the same client for 6 years, y'all. That's a full-blown mother trucking relationship. You understand? No. 6 years, no. I had a client for 6 years. She's okay. We did fine. But the level of like hands-on work this takes, she is burnt out. And rightfully so. I'd be in the same position as her right now. I'd be so tired of that fucking case. I don't know, but I'm going to go watch it. I'm going to watch part of it, like a day or two. Okay? So. All right. Let's go to Diddy. You know, I'm kind of over the Diddy trial, honestly, if I could be honest. It's like so gross. It's like such just creepy, awful grossness that it just, I don't know. I'm like totally turned off by it. No face. She was not the lead last trial. There was a black man who was the lead. He is not on there anymore. I don't think she's the lead on this trial. I think that white guy is. Diddy is old news. Diddy is a sick fuck and he needs to go to prison for the rest of his life. Period. So in the Diddy trial, they are today, defense is doing their closing. Yesterday, prosecution did their closing. They did a really good job. They tied everything together. A few days ago, it was released that prosecution's dropping charges. That is not the fact. The fact is they did drop some charges, but they dropped lesser included charges. So they dropped all the attempts. Attempted arson, attempted this, attempted that. They said, nah, we've proved it. We don't need to tell this jury what attempted means. And they saved themselves a ton of time. Okay? All these people, oh, is he going home? No, he's not going home. Prosecution is just trying to make their case go faster and cleaner. That's it. Okay. I heard that just today in the closing arguments, Mark Agnifico said that Diddy wouldn't have committed arson because men fight. Now the prosecution is going to come back and go, yeah, oh, Mark is right. Mr. Agnifico is right. Diddy fights. And he fights women. And when his opponent is a man, he commits arson. Oh, shit. That was not a good line, Mark. That was a very bad defense. What the fuck was he thinking? He would have fought him? In a case about this man hitting women? Oh, no, you're an idiot. I don't know. I'm guessing the jury will deliberate Monday and Tuesday, and we should have, I'm guessing, a verdict no later than Wednesday of next week, would be my guess. Well, I'll be on the lookout. I'll be watching it. But like you said, another CG, Diddy is old news. This shit is wore out. We are tired. And I think that's why the defense didn't put on a defense. Because they're like, everyone is over this now. Also, how do you defend the indefensible? You know, you would have blamed it on KK. They didn't do that, right? So, Really, your defense is that Diddy hangs out with gold diggers. No surprise there. Who else would hang out with a mouth breather? Like a mouth breather billionaire? Of course it's gonna be gold diggers. Hello? Nobody else is interested in that man. It's not like he has a personality. So yeah. I don't know, guys. I am... Diddy Lead is also his worst lawyer. When he talks, he tends to... Yes, I am surprised at how bad Mark Adnifigo, or whatever his last name is. My understanding is his wife, Lisa, is a phenomenal attorney. And so I heard she's in that courtroom right now. And I can't help but wonder if she was like, when he said that, like, oh, Mark, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? I don't think Mark did a very good job at all. I would not have hired him. Brian Steele did a stellar job. Nicole Westmoreland did a stellar job. By the way, I looked her up. She got licensed in Florida in 2017 and then Georgia in 2018. So she's kind of a freshie. But she's licensed in 2 states. So that's interesting. She is a really good attorney. We're going to see more of Nicole Westmoreland. Not as sure. I guess we'll see more of Mark Agnifico, but I don't think so. I think Lisa's going to tell him he needs to take over the office duties. Their firm. He's going to be like, nah, Lisa. Or Lisa's going to be like, nah, Mark. That was dumb. You did a terrible job. You handle the emails and phone calls. But man, those ATL lawyers, they represented y'all. They did great. They did great. Okay. I will let you know more about my meet and greet that will be in Florida in September for my birthday. Yay. We'll celebrate my birthday. I'm going to be the big 4-4. So that's exciting. I will update you on the Carmelo Anthony. I will say that he was just indicted with first-degree murder. So that means that the grand jury did believe there was enough evidence or probable cause to say, yeah, we should have a first-degree murder trial. The penalty could be 5 years to life. I cannot imagine this child spending more than 5 years in jail. I know the type of boy that the victim was, and they're not nice. They're not good boys. They're not nice boys. So when he says he thought that kid was going to hurt him, I truly believe that. Yeah, I do. I believe that. And I wonder if we'll hear evidence that Austin Metcalf was kind of a bully or kind of big and violent. I don't know. I think we're going to hear that kind of evidence, and I wouldn't be surprised. It reminds me of an episode of like Law and Order SVU. You know, the episodes where they're like going to high schools because a girl was, raped or whatever. It reminds me of that. And I feel like we're going to see kids come out and be like, oh no, like he was known throughout the school district as being a fighter or aggressive or whatever. And Carmelo knew that. That's my thought. I don't know. That case is crazy. What makes it even crazier is that it's in Dallas, the DFW area, highly segregated community. He's from Frisco's really, really nice. I don't know. I was very concerned when it happened that a race war was going to start here right at home. I really was. I really was. I'm hoping that that is not the case. I know people were really mad at the judge for lowering the bail or the bond, but that's Texas law. She just applied Texas law. She's been a judge on that bench since 2012. Like, she knows what she's doing. She's just applying Texas law. Like, if you don't like that, then who you need to talk to are your legislators, not the judge. She didn't write the law. She just applies it. So it is going to be a really interesting case. And of course, we're following Yella Beezy. That trial is not set yet. Oddly, in the software where they have all the case information, it shows that it's closed. But it's not. It has active hearings. So I don't understand what's up with that. But we are keeping a close eye on that one as well. So Thank you all for being here. All of you that hit like, all of you that subscribe, all of my members. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you all so, so very much. And I think next Friday is 4th of July. And if that's the case, I am not going to be streaming on 4th of July. I'm going to be sleeping. I celebrate America by napping. My American right to nap. So I probably won't see you next Friday, but I certainly will see you whenever that Diddy jury verdict comes down. So thank you for being here. You guys are the best. I can't wait to see some of you in person in Florida, and I can't wait to see the rest of you when we see these jury charges, or what the jury determined on Diddy. So thank you guys. Have a great weekend.